Alrighty, yesterday we started talking about animal agriculture. We talked about what it is and what it includes, and it's all sorts of different raising or breeding and raising and slaughtering of animals for human use and consumption. We started yesterday talking about the three main ways that animal agriculture contributes to climate change and damages the environment. We talked about pollution, all of the different types of pollution yesterday. Today we're going to talk about deforestation because of deforestation, environmental degradation, and we're going to talk about species extinction. All right, so yesterday, remember, we talked about pollution caused by animal agriculture. It causes air pollution. We talked about methane pollution and transportation of the transportation of animals, how those are the two main air pollutants that are a direct result of animal agriculture. We talked about waste pollution using non-renewable packaging, the manufacturing and the use of this non-renewable packaging. Then we talked about water pollution. We talked a lot about water pollution. We talked about feces runoff and how that gets into surface water and or groundwater, which does lead to eutrophication, which is the chemicals from feces, which are the main chemicals we're talking about and concerned with, are nitrogen and phosphorus. Those getting into the water sources and then causing eutrophication, which is when the algal blooms that float in the water are able to really rapidly reproduce because they have all of these extra chemicals that are around that they need in order to reproduce. So it's like they have a lot of food so they can make a lot of babies or copies of themselves. Plants don't have babies, but you know what I mean. And this can cause hypoxia. And remember, hypoxia is the depletion of oxygen in a body of water. And it causes severe damage to aquatic life, meaning it kills aquatic life including the plants and animals that live in the water. So I actually wanted to add one more thing to this that we kind of briefly touched on yesterday. Oh yeah, we talked about ocean dead zones also yesterday. But I wanted to add that both the feces runoff as well as what's called the runoff from fertilization. Runoff from fertilization. Okay, so we have feces runoff, which is the animal feces. I'm talking about two different ways that animal agriculture impacts or that causes water pollution. So the first way is feces runoff and all of the stuff that includes. But we also have runoff from fertilization. So what this is crops that are used to feed animals, crops, meaning fields of corn, of soybeans, etc. These crops, we have to have a lot of food in order to feed all of these animals, right? So we have crops, big fields of food that are used in order to feed the animals. So crops must be fertilized with special fertilizers. We have these fertilizers that contain nitrogen and phosphorus, just like the feces of animals, right? So when these crops are fertilized with these chemicals, what happens? The fertilizers get down into the ground and into the surface water and eventually into streams and rivers, and then eventually the ocean. And this is the same exact process as with feces runoff, but this is runoff from fertilizers that are used on crops instead of feces runoff. Okay, so here are some more concise notes about specific things that you need to know. So if you need to pause this, you can do that later when you're watching this, if you rewatch this video, or Miss Aisha can pause it if she's feeling nice. All right, so what happens is we have these crops, like I said, and they require fertilizers. These crops are used to feed animals. Crops, we'll even say that right here. Crops used to feed animals. Okay, and the fertilizer contains chemicals, specifically nitrogen and phosphorus. And like with the chemicals in the feces, these chemicals, nitrogen and phosphorus from the fertilizer, get into the ground and surface water and eventually to the oceans, and they cause eutrophication, hypoxia, and dead zones, just like the feces runoff does. So that was one more thing I just wanted to add to pollution, the water pollution here, because there's two different sources of water pollution happening because of animal agriculture. So it's the feces runoff and the runoff from fertilization. Okay, now we are on deforestation and environmental degradation. So first we need to know, what is deforestation? So deforestation is the permanent removal of standing forests. So it's the permanent removal of standing forests. Another way you can think about this is it's the clearing, destroying, and otherwise total removal of trees. All right, so some facts here. The majority of deforestation occurs and is still occurring in the Amazon rainforest. Majority occurs in Amazon rainforest, and approximately 80% of deforestation is caused by cattle farming. About 80% of deforestation is caused by cattle farming. And you might say, what do cows have to do with taking down the Amazon? Well, what happens is trees are cut down in order to make grazing and pasture land for cattle, and also they're cut down to grow food for livestock, like to make fields, like I was just talking about earlier. So the cattle need a ton of land. Even if it's gonna be a factory farm, it still takes a lot of land to build a farm. We need places for the cows to move around so that the meat gets nice and yummy and juicy, and we need fields for them to be able to graze on. Graze is like eating, and so we cut down forests for grazing land, and forests are cut down to plant fields to grow food for livestock, like I said, such as food like corn and soybeans, etc. We obviously aren't feeding soybeans to the animals, but we turn soybeans into other products that they can eat, soy that they can eat. Okay, so those are some little fun facts. So why is deforestation bad? Why does this matter? Why do we care? Why is it bad? Well, the first thing is habitat loss. Habitat loss. So what that means is that animals live in these forests. It's like something like 70 or more % of all land animals live in forests of some form or another. So when we cut down forests, we're taking away the home of all of the animals that live in that forest. That's what habitat loss is. So this is, this is very bad because the animals either have to relocate, meaning find a new home, so they're going to find a new part of the forest, and they're going to push out other animals that are living there, or they have to die. They either they relocate or they die. So this is not good because it can lead to species extinction, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So that's the number one, or that's the first thing, not the number one thing. The second reason that deforestation is bad is because it causes land or soil degradation. So what that means is soil, when the trees are, if we look at a forest, we have all these trees, right? There's a tree and another tree and thousands of trees like this, okay? So in the soil, under the trees, we have the roots of the trees, right? Lots of roots. And if they're big trees, like in the Amazon, those roots go a super long way. They're a very big, vast expansion of roots. So with these roots in the soil, the tree roots help the land to retain water, and it helps keep the topsoil, which is the soil at the top, it helps keep it very nutrient rich. so that it helps keep the soil very rich in nutrients. Okay, so when we take all of these trees away, we get rid of all these trees. We don't, and all the roots are eventually going to die. What happens is we now have soil with no plants, no animals, and no roots underneath. So what happens is the soil slowly over time, especially if we have animals grazing on it. Remember, if we put cows on this land now, that's a cute cow. If we put cows on this land now, they're gonna poop and pee, and all of this stuff that was this soil that was very nutrient rich at first when the trees were there is going to kind of get washed out by all the feces that the cows poop and pee out, or it's going to get washed out by the fertilizer from the crops. If we plant, let's say we plant, this is some kind of, I don't know, I don't remember what corn looks like. Oh yeah, it's like, I don't know, something like this. Yeah, wow, that's such a good, obviously that's a corn stalk. Okay, so either way, whether we have land, we use the land for animals, or we use the land to plant fields, we're going to have extra chemicals that go into the soil, and it kind of pushes out all of the good other nutrients that are required in the soil for other plants to grow. So this is a problem because now we have this, once the soil is all basically nutrient depleted, we either don't grow crops. We usually would get rid of our crops there, right? Once we use all the nutrients, we can't keep planting every single year. We can't keep planting the same crops. If the soil is not nutrient rich, it's pointless. So then we have this big expansive place, big mass of land that has very nutrient depleted soil, so we can't grow anything on it. Nothing grows on it by itself, right? It's just because if it's not good enough for us to plant crops, then there aren't going to be plants like natural plants growing there either, because it's there's no nutrients in the soil. So now we just have this big piece of land that is nutrient depleted and useless, basically. So this is how deforestation can cause land and soil degradation, which eventually leads to this just useless land that we're left with. The third way that deforestation has negative consequences is that it increases greenhouse gases. And the way that it does that, we know that trees breathe in carbon dioxide, right? Trees breathe in carbon dioxide and they breathe out oxygen. It's the opposite of humans. Humans breathe in oxygen and we breathe out carbon dioxide. So if we have these big, beautiful expanses of forest, these forests help suck in some of the carbon dioxide, a lot of the carbon dioxide that is released into the atmosphere. So rather than this carbon dioxide from cars, for example, going into the atmosphere, it's sucked in by the forests, right? It's breathed in by the forests, and the forests turn it into oxygen. They breathe out oxygen. So if we get rid of all of these forests, and we've seen this when we are getting rid of forests in certain areas, the level of carbon dioxide in the air increases. So deforestation directly contributes to the increase of greenhouse gases because there's no trees to breathe in the extra carbon dioxide. All right, so there are some really quick, brief little notes. I hope you were taking more notes than that while I was speaking. If not, you can go back and rewatch this part and take notes on habitat, these three things that I was talking about. But so just really quick, why is deforestation bad? Again, because it causes habitat loss, which is when we cut down forests, we cause the animals to lose we take away their homes, and when that happens, they must either relocate or die. It also causes land or soil degradation, and this is when we plant things or fields, or we have livestock living on this expanse of land where we took out all the trees, before it was very nutrient rich, but then over time it becomes very nutrient depleted and eventually useless. So we just are perpetuating the problem, basically, because once it becomes useless, once the land is useless and we can't grow anything on it, then the farmers are just going to move to a new patch of land and destroy more forest and then do the same thing over and over again. So we're basically just cutting down trees and destroying the soil, and then once the soil, we can't use it anymore, we move on to the next place. And then finally, it increases greenhouse gases when deforestation occurs, and the reason for that is because trees breathe in the CO2, and CO2 is one of those main gases that we talked about for green, that are the contributors to the human enhanced greenhouse effect. So if we don't have anything kind of trying to help balance this excess CO2, then eventually it's just going to build up and build up and build up and build up in the atmosphere. All right. So the third and final thing we need to talk about regarding animal agriculture is this thing called species extinction. So this is the third major problem with animal agriculture, species extinction. Okay, so what is extinction? Species extinction. Let's just do that. Species extinction. So species extinction occurs when we're talking about a species of animal or plant. When a species of animal or plant has no living members any longer. They're no longer in existence. So when existence. Sorry, long, awkward silence. Okay, when a species of animal or plant no longer has any living members, or when it's no longer in existence, when the species is no longer in existence. So an example of this would be the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs are extinct, right? We don't have any more dinosaurs. So 99% of all the species that have ever lived have gone extinct. That's a really big, crazy thing to think about. 99% of all species that have ever lived have gone extinct or are now extinct. And they've gone extinct over the course of gone extinct over the course of 5 mass extinctions. Mass extinctions means a point in time. I'm spelling that wrong. No, I was spelling it right. So a mass extinction is a period of time where lots and lots and lots and lots of species go extinct. So the dinosaurs. I think that let's look at what were the five mass extinctions. Yeah, the dinosaurs were a mass extinction. So there have been 5 major mass extinctions in the history of living things that we know about, and scientists say that we are actually currently in our 6th mass extinction. Currently in 6th mass extinction, and they say that this mass extinction is occurring somewhere between 1,000 and 10,000 times faster than previous extinctions. So previous extinctions took quite a long time. Like when the asteroid hit the Earth and destroyed, caused the sun to be blocked out and everything, with the start of the extinction of the dinosaurs, right? Like some were obviously killed in the immediate aftermath of the asteroid hitting the Earth. But what actually occurred, I mean, all of the plants and animals that were living on Earth didn't just die then, right? No. what happened in this mass extinction is the sun was blocked out by all of the ash and the volcano that was caused by the volcanic eruptions, and eventually, over a period of time, the plants and animals that were living in the time of the dinosaurs, eventually, the majority of them, a lot of them, died because of this. So, but it took a long time. It's not like they just it immediately happened, right? It took a very long time for them to all go extinct. So right now, in this 6th mass extinction that we're in, it's happening 1,000 to 10,000 times faster than previous extinctions, and the reason for that is due to human activity. And specifically, what type of activity? You guessed it, folks. Animal agriculture. Not only animal agriculture, but a very large portion of the extinctions. In fact, what is the number? I have the number. I don't have a number. I have animal agriculture, a stat. Animal agriculture is actually the number one cause of the leading cause of species extinction. So animal ag is the number one leading cause. Number one leading cause. I think that's redundant. Number one and leading. You could do leading cause or number one, but I don't think you need both. Anyway, number one cause of species extinction today. For all of those reasons that we've talked about, why do I have such a hard time with this word? Okay, so for all of those reasons that we talked about, all of the deforestation, so let's look at how does animal ag cause species extinction? Wow, I am struggling with the writing today. Species extinction. The number one way, of course, is deforestation. Not the number one way, but one of the main ways is deforestation. Deforestation, taking away the homes of animals. That's obviously, we already talked about that. We don't need to go into it again. Another massive way that animal agriculture is causing species extinction is from ocean dead zones. We're doing the exact same thing, but basically in the ocean, right? If we're clearing out a part of the ocean, there are animals and plants that live there in that specific part of the ocean. And when we cause it to be nutrient depleted or hypoxic, when we kill everything in that ocean dead zone, we're doing the exact same thing that we're doing in the forests when we take away all the forests, right? And the third way that animal agriculture contributes to species extinction is from over-exploitation. Specifically, overfishing. Overfishing. I tried to write it small so it would fit on this line. Overfishing. So overfishing is when we deplete a stock of fish by fishing too much. So overfishing is exactly what it sounds like. Depleting a stock of fish by excessive fishing. So fishing is a good thing. However, what it's turned into, and we're going to see this in the documentary that you watch tomorrow, it's turned into taking out way too much, way too fast. So it's okay to take some out of the ocean, take some fish out of the ocean, but what happens is all over the world, every country, I mean not every country, let's be real, but the big countries who are big exporters of fish, they just take the fish out and they take the fish out and they take the fish out. They don't give the population any time to make babies again and replenish the population. So what happens over time is if we're just only taking out the fish, of these blue fish, let's say, that looks like an infinity sign. I promise I actually am really good at drawing. I'm going to show you a drawing that I did. I'll show you tomorrow. Actually, I'm going to show you right now. Boom, there you go. 3 drawings that I did, okay? So all of this nonsense about the cows and the corn that I can't draw, okay? I can draw, okay? All right, anyway, so when we take out too many of a certain species, we don't give that species enough time, and eventually that species is going to become extinct because we're just killing them. It's like if we go and we understand the concept of extinction. I think it might be beating a dead horse here. So what we're going to do now for the rest of the day is you have a reading that I want you to do that is about species extinction, and it's from Columbia University. It's a very good source. And you're going to read that. You're going to answer some questions over the rest of the stuff that we discussed today, and some questions about the reading, so I can make sure that you actually read it and you understood it. And then we are done now with this section. The only thing we have left to do is watch the documentary that we will be starting tomorrow, and we will complete it early next week. And then you will have your chapter 8, your section 8 quiz over everything we've discussed. We'll have a review day or two before that. I'll give you the date that we're going to have this quiz. I think it will probably be next Friday. So not this Friday, the 16th, but the Friday after, which would be Friday the 24th. Okay, so that is it. You can do your reading and then answer the questions, and those are due tomorrow before the start of class. Tomorrow, you need to come to class and pay attention because you're going to be answering questions as you watch this documentary. So please let me know if you have any questions so far, and I will get you your papers back by tomorrow at the latest. All right. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.